Welcome everybody for this first panel about what makes a film sustainable. We will more focus today on carbon, but also beyond carbon calculation. I'm Joanna Gallardo, head of the institutional relation and ecosystem at the Film Paris region. We are one of the French members of the Green Screen project, and I'm really be pleased to be here today with you for this final Green Screen conference. I will quickly introduce our four speakers. Two of them are public broadcaster, and we will listen their carbon strategy, how as a broadcaster they are implementing action in their ecosystem, but also internally. And also we will talk about tools, how to measure the carbon impact, what's news about the carbon tools, and I have the pleasure also to welcome Luz and Roni that we talk about. So first of all, let's leave the floor to Xavier, Xavier Farrer-Hutchison from France Télévisions, the main public broadcaster. So Xavier, as a broadcaster, how is going for you? What is your carbon strategy? What are the challenge as a broadcaster?
Big questions. So I have slides to share. Is it already on? Brendan, you wanted to, it's on, thank you. So you can go to slide number 2. So slide number 2. Sorry, maybe just, oops, sorry. Okay, so setting the scene in France Télévisions is to present you how we organize and structure our environmental and climate policy within the group, the activities of the group. So we have 4 main chapters: footprint related to our sites, how we address as well our footprint related to our productions content, our editorial impact, and our contribution to a transitional sector. So first, within our site is big question is how to reduce our energetic and non-energetic resources consumption. It's specific criteria in our procurement. It's a cycle plan which aims to give about 400 euros a year to people who go to work with bicycling. It's travel rules, no plane under 2.5 hours length time travel. It's a car policy to shift from petrol to hybrid and electric. It's of course measures regarding single-use plastic, about bottles, but also cups. And it's first step with the Green 19 since 2010. It's also a very specific focus on climate emissions. We have succeeded to cut by 37% our green GHG emissions in 2020 versus 2011. It was 2 targets, one for 2015 and 2020 to cut by 8%. The second one, 2021 to 2023, it's to cut annually 3.5% of our emissions, and it is linked to a staff annual bonus. Next steps regarding carbon and beyond will be to make a comprehensive carbon assessment, means Scope 3, with what we call a SBT plan reduction pathway. SBT for science-based target, means to have an objective aligned with the Paris Agreement. And also, because it's not only about carbon, but non-energetic resources, we would like to make an assessment of our resources footprint, specifically on water and raw materials. So it's approximately the same kind of impacts and the same kind of issue that we have within our productions. I mean, waste management, energetic and non-energetic resource reduction, mobility. So a big effort has been made with the film sets. All the film sets for our daily dramas are locally manufactured. It's a measure regarding reducing single-use plastic bottles and cups as well. It's people dedicated to be eco-manager, and almost, and I can say, I think all today, our TV studios are equipped with LEDs. And of course, it's waste and catering management, vegetarian meals, local product. We have very recently created a board dedicated to what will be called the new sustainable production content policy for the group. And we have launched in September a new platform called Now You for young people to get committed to climate and environmental issues. And it's our first slow web platform, black screen, no videos, just text, one content today. Do less but better. Next step, so as I said, was to launch and develop a sustainable production content policy for our production. So it's about training our collaborators, assess more systematically our carbon footprint, measures, first of all, focus on single-use plastic and transport, as we know that transport in production is above average 1/3 of the emissions, and special policy for the sets to make sets from conception to waste management in a circular approach. Then you have what we call our editorial impact. It's a very, very important impact, as you all know, and we like to say that we have different kind of storytelling. We need different tools to talk about those issues. We need debates and current affairs. That's what we do in news report and news magazines. To show the investigation and frontline with magazines and documentaries, dramas and daily series, slightly integrate transition with individual behaviors, but specific narrative as well. And from the regions, we have a whole network, news network in our territories, and it is quite dynamic in certain territories. So it's keep an eye and show how the transition is going on in our territories as well. And within our advertising, we have developed specific screens dedicated to sustainable products. So we use the ADEME criteria, and sometimes we go beyond ADEME criteria, and that's a work in progress, of course, for advertising. We have the ambition to go much further. So last slide will be how we contribute to a transitional sector, as it is a transitional sector, not only in France, but in Europe and beyond. So we are part of the EcoProd Association as a funder and as a member. We also participate to what we call the action plan of the CNC, which aims to organize the transition in the audiovisual and cinema sector. And we participate to workshops organized by the EBU. The EBU is the European institution which gathers all the public media in Europe. So what are the ambition is to, of course, give tools to professionals for assessing the production by a specific carbon calculator. We already have some, but we have to develop new ones, which include post-production and broadcasting assess and impact. It's to give guidelines and criteria to ensure what will be considered as a sustainable production within some years. And it's, of course, sharing resources and best practices among each other. So I really hope I was short enough, Joanna.
Thank you a lot, Xavier. Wow, it's a quite complete strategy, internally, externally, content, advertising. We are quite amazed. I just have to mention that you are the CSR manager at France Télévisions. I didn't introduce to you, so let's
for environment and climate issues. Yeah.
Thank you. Also, if you have any question, the audience, please ask question in the chat. My colleague will send me the question, and the speakers will be pleased to answer you. Now let's go to Belgium, to the Flemish broadcaster VRT, and I'm pleased to introduce to you Ruud van Prins, fiction producer at the VRT. And as France Télévisions, you have also a global strategy in terms of carbon impact, but not only. So, Ruud, let's tell you more about.
Well, it's quite similar as France TV, but let me tell you the story how it all started. You know, in 2017 we had a fiction series called Buck, and by that time in the VRT, the word durability or sustainability didn't exist. We didn't do anything. So we got a lot of financial support from the VAF media funds and for this production, and they said you get the funds, the financial support, but 10% of it we are holding back because you have to prove that you are sustainable. This was something very strange because it didn't exist in VRT. How could we do this as a small production, a small producer in this big company where there is 2,000 people working? So first of all, we went to the CEO and asked him, could you please hold back everything that has to do with this building and the catering and everything? And he listened very well and pointed out somebody who was a scout by them, and he was responsible then, or it was a she. She was responsible for everything that is about durability in the VRT, so that we could focus on from now on to our production. The media funds gave us a calculator, and then when we started, first of all, how do you do it? You know, you don't have the experience, you don't already all those points that Xavier talked about now. So we first of all asked all head of departments in this production, what is sustainability for you? What are you going to do? And what are your needs? How can we help you? And everybody start thinking, and that gave us a list of 10 bullet points. And if I just call them up very quickly, to measure is to know, that's the first one. So we filled in the calculator. And on the second one is sustainability is something for everybody, not for the producer, but even for actors, managers, suppliers, everybody. How do you do it? The third bullet point was use your common sense. And the fourth one was raise awareness with everybody. The fifth one was the limit your waste, limit your consumption, and then you limit your CO2 outcome. The sixth one was reuse, reinvent, recover, and give everything another purpose. The seventh one was don't be afraid of investing. Invest in everything you need for being sustainable, because sustainability is not doesn't cost a lot of money. Invest in hotels, in tablets as you need it. The eighth bullet point was think about your energy. A distribution box in Belgium costs not as much as a generator, and the CO2 outcome is less. Think about your transport is the ninth, and the 10th is sometimes you have to build in thresholds and give bonuses to the people who are and work sustainable. So now I still can say something about our future. In the meantime, this was 2017. In the meantime, we are now 2021, and we have a goal in the VRT to reduce our CO2 emission by 35%. We counted it that we have 15 tons CO2 per person working in the VRT. And in 2026, it will be only 2 tons of CO2 per person. How are we doing this? The biggest one is mobility. We have a very big mobility plan. Everybody can lease bicycles, speed pedelecs. By the way, in 2018, there was 105,000 kilometers made by bicycle by the persons who work there. We let people lease electric cars. We have satellite offices, and we were a manager of the year in Belgium about mobility. The second thing is the catering and purchase. We have in VRT now durable purchase, durable suppliers, and we go in group purchase. And then the fourth one, it's dated from 1969. That's before the oil crisis. So the energy is a very big problem. And we're going to have a new building in 2026, which will be completely energy neutral. And the fifth and the last point is then we are waiting for the calculator Eureka, where we will use it for productions, TV, radio, events, everything.
Thank you a lot, Rit. I have a question. How do you sensibilize the people you work with? I mean, internally, the film crew, the other producer, and also outside, working with, I guess, independent production house. Are you doing some specific session guidelines?
We don't have a manual, but we are busy writing one. But we call the people, as I said, we call the people together. We give them checklists, and per department, we start talking to him and ask him, what do you need? Do you need money? Do you need support? On regular basis, we talk to them and we ask them. And because of sustainability is something everybody wants, we try to give we got to give it to them, because it's not something for a producer. It's for, as I said, for everybody.
Thank you. Just a question for the two of you, Xavier and Rit. What about you founder as a public organization? Does the ministry that is funding you is pushing you to be green? Is there some regulation, objective aims? Maybe Xavier, you can start, and then Rit, if it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have regulations that's what we call compliance. It's more about reports. We have to report what we do, what we do regarding sustainability, and we have also some what we call a cahier des charges. A cahier des charges is an editorial content for public media, French public media. We can't broadcast anything we want. We have to respect certain rules, and we have an article dedicated to environmental and scientific. I don't know, it is linked to science programs, but we have an article specific to environmental content, editorial content. So yes, we have both within our organizations, and the compliance leads us to do some reports. It's not specific actions. Then you have building obligations, public procurement, which push as well the policy. But regarding sustainable itself, it's more report today than actions, precise actions.
Yeah, it's quite the same with us, but we don't, the minister didn't ask us any targets yet, but that's gonna come, because right now we are writing a report completely about all the actions that VRT are taking. And I think they are a bit waiting until the new building is there. And when the new, everybody's going in the new building, then there are gonna be targets. I'm sure about it.
Maybe.
Thank you very much. Rit, you were talking about a tool, the Eureka tool, and carbon calculator and certification scheme are a vital measuring tool indeed, and we need those kind of tools to measure, to have some aims, and to report. And it has been one of the aim of the Green Screen project to be able to measure and then to reduce the carbon footprint. So Luz Molina from ProMalaga Agency, can you tell us more about this Eureka tool, this new carbon calculator? How is Eureka is different from the other carbon calculator tools?
Thank you, Joanna. Eureka, it's definitely certain different tool from others, basically because we build it from experience. Like 5 years ago, when we started Green Screen, we tried because in Spain at that time we were like kind of behind this topic, and talking about sustainability in audiovisual sector, it was more or less talking like science fiction. So since the very beginning, we thought that having our own tool, like a tool that can be used in Spain, it will be very useful for the industry, especially because we can show them, because they can test it, how big their impact on the environmental was. So what we did, and we did it as a good practice inside of the project, was taking the Velion calculator, the one that have BAF, and we like made them our own version for the Spanish standard or with the Spanish parameter. So at some point in the project, we have like 3 different calculators. France have one calculator, Spain have another, and Belgium have another calculator. And we tried to take like one audiovisual project and test it with the 3 tools. And our surprise was that the result with one audiovisual project, but using 3 different tools, they were really different from each other. So we thought that that was something really terrible, because we were sending like a confused message to the industry, because it is not that your impact is changed based on the tool that you're using, but how the tool is built. It's really important, because for sure the tool is based on some certain parameter. So we thought that, hey, maybe we can take this experience and try to create a new tool based on all the knowledge that we have been collecting so far inside of the project. And this is why we apply for this pilot action inside of the project in Green Screen. And we pretend that Eureka will be an instrument that help audiovisual industry to better understanding and evaluating the environmental impact of their productions, as well as to make their production processes more sustainable. So Eureka is not only about measuring, but it's also about raising awareness and learning from experience. So how we thought that we could do that? We thought that the tool is actually really important, but what is important is what is behind the tool, like the database that we have created. And the key point of that is that it's a database that can be used all around Europe. So it doesn't matter if you are shooting in Spain or if you are shooting in Belgium, France, Sweden, or any other country from the European Union. You can use Eureka and the result is going to be the same. Especially because there is some certain parameters that for sure are different from regions, because the way that the energy is created in Spain is not the same that the energy is created in Romania, for example. But we also include the different from each region. So now if you have, for example, like international co-production, you can only use one tool, and Eureka can guide you and help you to do that. So why is this so important? Basically because finally we will have a tool and that it's allowed us to consolidate data. So we can compare productions that have been shooting in different regions in Europe, and you can also compare production that have been creating in some certain co-production and shooting in different spaces. So what we conclude from the experience is actually what is not important, it's the tool itself, but what is behind. And we also conclude for sure that we didn't do a lot alone all this process. We had been helped by our E-team. It is like a group from the industry and from sustainable expert, and they had been like giving us feedback about what we were doing and what we were trying. And what we conclude is that we cannot ask to the industry to be sustainable when we are not the first one being an example for it. So it's super important, and I think that actually Interreg Europe and Green Screen is a wonderful example of it, about how collaboration, cooperation, and combined strength, in the end, it's giving us a more a better and result, and also like it's a way to prove that how combining strength is actually the way to be also more sustainable. So yeah, I guess that basically
Wow.
that's it.
When it will be launched or ready, or where are you now?
We are now in testing. Like the tool, it's already done, but we are checking some things, and we want to like create like a first step where we have some testers that can give us some feedback. But the tool is already there, and our idea is that after the funding will be over, there is a way that we can keep it alive. Because I think that it's actually really important. So we are hoping that somehow the European Union can take it and make it their own tool promoting the work that we have been doing, because it had been like a real nice collaboration between almost like all the regions that are part of the European Union. So I think it's like a wonderful example about how we are better together.
Nice word. Thank you, Luz. Ronnie Fritsch is from Sweden and is coming from the production side and has been a production manager. And Ronnie will also tell us a bit more about also a tool, but which is a bit different than a normal carbon calculator. So Ronnie, the floor is yours. Hello.
Hello, do you hear me well?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Yes, hello, my name is Ronnie Fritsch, and I will tell you about another tool and the collaboration with the municipality of Ystad and Film i Skåne around this Swedish planning tool, Sustainable Film. As you said, my background is production manager and producer, and I realized some years ago that I had two choices. Either I quit the film industry because I can't support the production methods we are using, or my second alternative was to start a movement and try to change the situation and make the film industry sustainable. And with my perception as a producer and production manager, I have now developed this tool to help the production management to structuring their sustainability work. And it was important for me to create a planning tool that not only have an environmental focus, but also includes social and economic sustainability. And the most obvious framework for this is the Sustainable Development Goals that I have got some help from my son to illustrate here with Duplo. I teamed up with a Swedish company, Green Time, that has a lot of experience in helping the event industry, like music festivals, sports events, to work sustainably and certify them. We also involved a working group from the industry that Mikael Svensson at Film i Skåne was a part in to influence the work with many different perspectives. We had representatives from broadcasters, different financiers, researchers on life cycle analysis, producers, and the union in that working group. And together created a version of this Green Time tool customized for the film and TV industry. So how does it work? It is, as many other planning tool, a web-based tool with a very simple user layout. I usually say that it is a mindset tool or a changing behavior tool working on 3 levels. It raises awareness, it gives knowledge, and it inspires you to action. It is a sort of an advanced checklist with questions and relevant information in this context that informs and helps you as a producer or production manager to structure the sustainability work in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. For example, when a producer chooses if another man or a woman should direct the next action movie, this tool helps you to work in line with goal number 5, that is gender equality. And when you make sure the working environment on set is good, so no one gets killed of a prop gun, for example, then you know that you're working in line with goal number 3, which is good health and well-being. And when you reduce air travel, then you know that you work towards goal number 13, climate change. And it also includes a calculator that is focusing on this goal number 13. But this is a very, very simple calculator and not so advanced. The purpose is with this calculator is not to give an exact answer on how much CO2 your production contributes with. That is not so relevant in order to take action and reduce your emissions. This calculator only roughly estimates the emission, and this helps the producer to prioritize and focus on the right things that contribute most, and helps to easily calculate emissions from different production scenarios. It works in such way that you fill in budget lines from your budget into the calculator, and the calculator uses numbers from our national body, Statistics Sweden, that are responsible for official statistics here in Sweden. And our next step, except Film i Skåne, there are 2 more film funds in Sweden that has committed to use this model. It's not official, so I'm not sure if I can mention the name yet. And the next step for us is to build this collaboration bigger with more stakeholders in Sweden. And then I hope to create a certification together with a trusted organization that goes beyond environment. And I think the challenges now for me and for Film i Skåne and the other partners in this is to introduce and implement this tool to the production companies. And I think this has to be done both with incentives and requirements. That was everything I wanted to say now. Thank you, Joanna, having me.
Thank you a lot, Ronnie, for this very visual presentation. It's quite clear to the audience. We have two or three questions. One is for Luz. Is the tool usable for any audiovisual content, the Eureka tool? Any kind of production?
Yeah, it can be used like from TV shows, documentaries, films. It's up to any content. You have to include how long it's your production, and then it's making itself. We want, or at least it will be the most envisioned future scenario, that we can include another creative industry also in the tool. It could be like, imagine like video games and theaters, also distributions like streaming channels and those. But right now it's just for production, but it's any kind of content. It's not only for films.
Okay, thank you.
Even though the link is Eureka Film.
We also have a question for Xavier. What do you mean by saying that specific screens of France Télévisions are dedicated to sustainable product in advertising? Could you explain a bit more?
Differently that I said means that we have some slots for advertise in our grid, and some slots are dedicated to sustainable product. So it's criteria coming from that. Madame is the French agency, public agency for environmental and energy issues, and they gave specific criteria, and our advertising department is deploying those criteria to reserve those slots to those products which respond to those criteria. For example, don't have any. I could give some more example. I don't pick up any examples, but I could find out some if needed.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's also not only special dedicated slot. It's also special offers for sustainable territories. We have quite a very comprehensive policy for sustainable adverts, and we are working on doing much more. That's big ambition for our advertising department. So that is just the beginning.
Okay, thank you. I think it's unfortunately the end. We could go much more further, but I think we get a clear view of different strategy and action and quite complete and complementary. I just want to conclude by saying three words that you all mentioned more or less. It's like dialogue within the industry, the different key stakeholder, cooperation with the Europe partner, with ministry and so on, and also, of course, methodology, very important. Thank you very much to you, the speakers. And I just have to tell to the audience then to reach the panel 3, stay on the main stage for infrastructure and innovation. And for the panel 4, commissioning the role of funder, go on stage 2. Thank you very much, and long life to the Green Screen Project and sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.